Well, I think like a lot of people, when I was going to school, I wasn't exactly clear on what I wanted to be when I grew up. And through some various courses that I took in college, I really had an affinity for business and accounting. It was something that was of great interest to me. And I also realized that not knowing exactly what I wanted to do, where I wanted to live, accounting was a broad enough base that I could go work in any industry, whether it was hotels or movies or manufacturing or hospitality, it didn't matter. And by the same nature, you weren't limited to a specific geographic region either, right? Because everybody's going to need an accountant somewhere.
Sure.
And so that just gave me the broadest base from which to leap forward. And I went into public accounting. I worked at Deloitte for a number of years. And that was like the basis of the business background. And then as my wife and I started getting more serious into wines, the playground started to expand, if you will. And when the opportunity came up to marry my recreation with my vocation, I thought, this is too good to pass up. So here I am. Well, so my wife and I, we met in college, and we were both accounting students. And living down in the Los Angeles area, you know, it's a 6-hour car ride up to Napa Valley. And so as we really got very enthusiastic about wines and learning about them, not just, you know, the effects of drinking, but we really wanted to understand the whole process and what made it so magical and special, we would find ourselves coming up here to the Napa Valley, to Sonoma Valley, whenever there were 3-day weekends, you know, President's Day, Memorial, Labor Day, Thanksgiving. And it was through that journey, if you will, that we got to know more people up here. And we got to know Jack and Jamie Davies of Schramsberg, among many others. And it was one day at a festival in Santa Barbara that Jack and Jamie were being honored for a Lifetime Achievement Award. And Jack was behind the table, proudly pouring wines with a big smile and explaining to the guests. And when we approached the table with our glass in hand, you know, he lit up, "Hey, Fred, Cheryl, how are you? Good to see you." And we had been up here the week prior for, I think what that was President's Week. And we said to Jack, "Hey, how are you doing? We heard you're looking for a CFO." And he said, "Well, yeah, how did you know that?" And I was just being cute at the moment. I said, "Oh, I heard it through the grapevine." And so we started talking. And lo and behold, he says, "Well, let's have breakfast tomorrow. You're staying at the hotel, right?" And I said, "Yes." So we talked, and one thing led to another, and he invited me to come up and interview with the family, his wife Jamie and their oldest son Bill at the time. And you know, here I am. I've been with the company now 27 years and don't regret a minute of it. And at first, it didn't even really seem like an interview opportunity. We were just having some genuine good conversation with Jack. And then we realized as we started delving into the conversation more, it's like, wow, this really is an opportunity. This isn't just, you know, how you doing, what's going on in your life. This is, we have a need and you might be able to help. I'm very fortunate again that I was able to work directly with Jack and Jamie, you know, and they're some of that A circle pioneers that came here in the 60s and reinvigorated the whole industry, right? Post-Prohibition. So when Jack and Jamie purchased the winery in 1965, I think they said there were 22 wineries in existence in Napa. So they were really getting in at a good time. And they knew all the key players. They were made a lot of discoveries. They made some mistakes. They made some brilliant moves on their part. And to just be alongside of them and learn from their wisdom. And Jack told great stories. I mean, it was just absolutely wonderful. Jack and Jamie were very strategic and well thought out in their approach to things. So they knew that, like all good businesses, you need to have succession planning. And they were actively planning for the second generation into the future. Their oldest son, Bill, so first I should just mention Jack and Jamie had 3 boys. Bill, who's the oldest, John is the middle, and Hugh is the youngest. When I came on board, Bill was there. He was the director of sales and marketing. John, their middle son, was living overseas. He wasn't involved in the wine business at all, nor is he actively today. And Hugh had just completed his master's program at UC Davis, and I think he was doing an internship overseas. And so he came back later that summer. So Jack and Jamie's vision was, we want to bring in younger generation to be the future. Bill was going to take over marketing and sales. Hugh was going to be production, and they needed somebody to do the finance and admin. And that's where I came in. And so they felt very confident that the team was in place going into the future. And then shortly afterwards, Bill had a little change in his mindset. He decided that he wanted to get into farming and organic rice. And unexpectedly, he left the winery. And so that opened the door for Mike Reynolds, who was the winemaker at the time. He was promoted to be the general manager, and he just gradually took over the lead until Hugh was ready to assume leadership. We did walk side by side, and no surprise, Hugh's background was in winemaking and viticulture. And so with a series of people to support him, whether it was legal counsel, whether it was our outside CPAs, whether it was myself, whether it was some of our board members, we all just basically insulated and shared our experiences, our knowledge with Hugh to help build him up and make him see more than just the winemaking side. And looking today at the business and Hugh as a person, I'd say that he's aced everything. I mean, he's just been absolutely brilliant. One of the things that's really important about Hugh too is it's not just that he wants it done well, he wants people to feel good about it all the way through. He personally wants to thank the staff. He wants to thank the growers, his business partners, his relationships with accounts and customers around the country. When he says thank you and please and all these, it's so heartfelt because that's just who he is as a person. Absolutely. And that was, again, one of Jack and Jamie's philosophical foundations is they didn't want anybody who is in senior management to have the ivory tower syndrome, right? Where you're making rules or setting policy and you've never really done it yourself. Sure. So I can say I've done harvest, so I've been out in the vineyards. I did that a couple of times, and I have found so much respect for vineyard workers. Jaime, who was our vineyard foreman, at the end of the day, he counted up all my little chips from the lugs that I picked, and he put his hand on my shoulder. He says, "Fred, it's a good thing you're good with the 10 key because you aren't keeping up."
Oh, man, that's terrible, isn't it?
Oh, it's brutal work. It really is brutal work. And I've worked in the cellar. I've worked with the winemakers doing base wine blending and tastings and such. So I have a true appreciation for everything that they do. And I think that makes me realize my role is to be supportive. And so people ask me very frequently, well, what do you do at the winery? And I like to say tongue in cheek, my role, I hire good people and stay out of their way. Yeah. So it's www.schramsberg.com. And through that website, you can actually get to both Davies, which is our red wine website, and the Schramsberg. There's a cross link, and so you can see pictures of the property. You have opportunities to purchase both sets of wines, and of course wine club membership, events, all the things that you might want to learn about the history and the products.